Hello, 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 my dirty dozens. Again, you have joined us for another finely crafted, wood-hewn, perfume-soaked, beautiful show. My name is Kelly Wright.
And I'm James Ernest, and we're here all week with special guest Ekello. Hello, Ekello. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Is there anything short for Ekello?
Wouldn't you hope that there was something short for Ekello? Well, my very white friend, my friends when I was very young used to call me EJ because Ekello is a hell of a name to go through when you're in middle school. So, yeah.
I bet.
EJ, if you
Anyway.
really want. I mean, Kelly knows me as EJ.
All right,
but
if I find myself running short of breath and still need to say your name before I breathe again, EJ, it will be.
Yes, so joining the show, Ekello Harrid. He is an actor, a singer, a composer, a photographer, a barista, and an all-around fantastic human being. He's been a friend of mine for almost 20 years. Good Lord, it's been almost 20 years, my friend.
Yes, it has.
Close. Yeah, about 15, 20. I've performed with him. Not only do we have we performed in Seattle, we've also performed in Arizona, Tucson. We've done shows in Tucson.
That's right. We used to tour.
Yes, tour if you want to call it that. One place. That counts as a tour, right, James? Is that a tour?
I
think
used
it's a
to tour the small towns of eastern Washington during the summer juggling marathons that I once did. And I have also been a barista in my life, although I don't still put it on my resume.
I have been a barista as well. I
Haven't
did
we
have
all?
it on my
Haven't-
resume for quite a while.
Have we reached
actually-
that stage where if someone's doing it wrong, we feel the urge to leap over the counter and do it for them?
I actually feel very, I feel very proud of being a barista. You know what I get to do every day? I get to start our economy off in the right foot. That's right. I make everybody who makes our economy go boom, I make their brains go boom every morning.
Yes, you do. You
You
provide
make them
the
work a
go
little
juice.
harder. That's good.
I really do.
You
I
provide
really.
a delicious cup
I'm
of
very
go
happy
juice.
when I do it too. I mean, I find deep joy in causing people's days to start off great. Oh.
Well, I have been in your store when you have been slinging the coffee, and you sing, and you are on. I mean on performance level on for the folks who come in, and I think that's a great way to start the day. So, I admire your work ethic. I admire your optimism. You have always been a super, super positive guy. So, in order for our audience to get to know you a little bit better, you were born on the East Coast in Maryland. And
Baltimore.
slowly worked your way over to Seattle. Baltimore, and you went to university in Kansas. Was that
Yes,
correct?
I did. Friends University of
So-
Central Kansas. Don't
Okay, so
don't spell that
Baltimore to
all the way out,
Canvas.
or else you'll be a little upset with what you come up with. But it is
Okay.
Friends University of Central Kansas. Yeah,
Got
a
it,
Quaker
Central
University.
Kansas.
Okay,
Is-
a Quaker University.
Is Kansas flat? Is it flat?
Mostly. There's
Yes.
a
James, yes.
Winfield, Kansas. There are rolling hills in Winfield,
Okay.
Kansas.
So at least there's some texture in some areas. But
When
yes,
you're in
the-
Kansas long enough, parts of it seem to look like hills. I will agree with that. But you don't really get to the mountains until you're halfway across Colorado.
Got it. So from Friends University in Central Kansas here to Washington State to, was it acting? Was that what you were going to do? Was to pursue acting right from the get-go?
Musical theater. Yeah, I always had a voice, so
Okay.
I always could sing. Grew up in mom and daddy were both ministers, and my daddy was a music minister, and so I sang from the moment I was like born until I went away to college, and I met when I was in high school, I met a wonderful young lady named Beth Patterson, and Beth's mother and Beth were both in the National Christian Choir, and I ended up being in the National Christian Choir for about, I want to call it 2 years. And in that time, I met this guy named Scott Farthing, and Scott, in turn, ended up going to Friends University and invited me to sing in a cantata that I had in turn sang at a couple of years before. And the music director saw me. The rest is history. So, and that's how I ended up in Kansas.
You set foot on the boards, and that was it. You were done. You were
I was. I mean,
what are some of your most memorable?
They wanted me there for singing. I wanted to be there for acting. It always seemed to never quite cross the way they wanted.
Well, it's hard. It's hard to contain your light. It needs to be out there. I definitely agree with that.
Speaking of light, you're whatever's on your finger.
Flashing. Ooh, man. I think my finger just went supernova.
I literally, you're listening to the audio version of our podcast. Too bad. Check us out on YouTube.
Yep, that's right. That's right. All I wanted to do when I saw that was go, dum 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 dum, Wanda Wamba. I can't do that because of copyright, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. So you came here for acting. You've built up the credits and the hours to become an equity actor, which is a union actor, which has the union protection for getting paid certain amounts, for working certain hours, mandatory meal breaks, and et cetera, et cetera.
Apps.
So tell me some of the equity productions you've done here in Seattle.
Little Shop of Horrors, Kiss Me Kate, Showboat. Oh gosh! You really want me to keep going? Okay.
Well, I remember seeing you in at ACT Theater. It was a theater. Yeah, it was a theater in the Round at ACT. You were a butler, I believe. You played a butler.
What show was that?
I know. I don't remember it, but you were fantastic.
It's the one with the
I believe it was called The Butler.
No, it was
the
not
Kennedys?
called The Butler.
The one about.
No, this one was. Oh gosh, with the mother and the daughter, and they were both eccentric and rich, and Kennedys. And it was a musical.
Grey Gardens.
Grey Gardens, thank you.
Yeah, Grey Gardens.
Thank you. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Grey Gardens. So I've done,
So Little Shop. Go ahead, please.
No, you were saying.
I was saying Little Shop of Horrors. You were, which I thought was absolutely fabulous. You were the voice of Audrey, the plant. Of course you were.
Yeah, well, it's I mean, there is no escaping the deep, rich bass baritone tones of my voice, and also I'm black, so.
Are all carnivorous plants black? Is
plants
that a
black,
rule?
aren't they?
No, not all. Only the best.
Only the best. Got it. So, were you in the suit, or was there a puppeteer in the suit?
As a matter of fact, very funny story. It was me and my dog. My wife just let my dog in the office. It was me and a puppeteer. The puppeteer and I worked for weeks and weeks and weeks to get this right, to the point where when the Gregory Awards came up, they could not give out one. They could not give out one. They gave out 2 awards for the same role, and so we both got an award for playing Audrey too. I gave the speech, and he held his hand up and mimed my hand. I was
That's terrific.
We would love to thank everybody in the Academy. It was very funny. He was very funny.
What was the
Eric.
hardest
He was
thing
very funny.
about that? Oh, good. What was the hardest thing about that particular role? How do you get into the mindset of a carnivorous plant? What's your motivation?
Oh, it wasn't really that hard. All I had to do was think back to being a very young man, 25 years old. That made me about as carnivorous as it gets. I was. I can't say that I didn't draw on prior experience, because I did, and it was,
of course.
Well, I'm kind of being serious. It was one of those when you're young you spend a enormous amount of time trying to attract the sex that you're into. You know, whatever that other party is, you're working real hard at it. And I remember thinking to myself when I was doing the show, I was like, boy, this is almost exactly like all the machinations that I went through in order to get that girl. Hey, baby, why don't you come over here and let's have a conversation about my pants? You know, that sort of thing.
Your
Hold on, y'all,
pants.
just a second.
Okay. Yeah. You also mentioned you were in Cats. So, and you played.
Were you the carnivorous plant in Cats as well? It seems like after once you might
Yes.
be typecast.
I was old Deuteronomy. There she is.
Oh, okay. You get cast as really big, memorable characters. That's for sure.
Are you happy now? Now you're here. You're good. You're good.
Okay.
All right.
EJ
For those
has
of us
has
listening
his
to
dog.
us, there is a
Yeah,
dog
EJ
in the
has-
frame of the camera.
Sorry,
has
I
his dog
know
Daisy
that
with him,
some
and
of this is audio. As a matter of fact, most of this is audio. I
It's fine.
apologize, y'all. But
Just
I just
Squeeze
keep
the
telling all
dog
of you.
until it makes a sound, and then we're good.
I know, for real. I wasn't going to do that. I wasn't going to do it. All right. Look, I'm telling you, everybody who's listening to this podcast, I love all of you dearly. But I have noticed when I look at the amount of views on their lovely, absolutely wonderful, beautiful YouTube channel that it is, well, shall we call it lackluster? Let's go ahead on and get out there and like and subscribe. And please come to this lovely podcast and see the video version of it. And I mean, and just in case y'all were wondering, they're both extremely attractive.
Well, we try. We try.
What's that bald
and I
head?
do know that
Look at that bald
lackluster.
head he has. Dear God.
It's
mean, I
the
get
lackluster
lost
that
in
we
it.
were actually going for. We were going for lackluster, and we've hit it. We've arrived at the big time.
Yes, well,
James,
after each
you-
new viewer suffers through that wave of initial disappointment, I'm sure they'll enjoy the format of our videos, which are less professionally edited than our audio channel. No music, no outtakes removed, just the raw footage, because
Raw.
I'm too lazy to do anything else.
Oh,
Yeah,
raw
well, we
and
figured that
better.
that's a bonus for folks when they see us do our sponsors. So when just to show the true dirt, the nitty gritty of voiceover work, when you're just trying to keep a character going, and it's difficult. EJ,
Vino.
you have recently turned. Have some. I do not have anything. I have a sore throat right now, so I'm avoiding the vino.
Sorry,
Oh, and Dr. Pepper for James, and nothing for Kelly. But Kelly's good. Kelly's a professional, unlike some people I work with.
I was gonna say she does. She does
anyway.
something
Oh,
dry
that's some
throat.
good Dr. Pepper
Dry
right there.
throat. Oh my God. Oh yeah.
So EJ, I want to.
Yeah.
This trio of people here, we are all 50 plus.
Yeah, we
so,
are.
EJ, you have recently turned 50.
Yes, I
James
have.
has recently turned 53. I have recently turned 53 as well. I was thinking the other day of, did I picture myself here 35 years ago?
What do you mean?
Has life turned out? Well, has life turned out, in a way you expected? Is it completely unexpected? One of the realizations I had as far as when I've hit this, as growing up, and now it really hit me, is that everybody's just kind of really just faking it. Nobody really knows what they're doing. They're just figuring it out as they go. Your thoughts?
Okay. All right. So look. All right. So there is this weird thing that you start to figure out in your 40s that you kind of crystallize right around that 50 years old that makes you it can make either some people become cynical or other people become completely free in the way that they think and the way that they do things. Half of everything we do doesn't matter. Literally doesn't matter. If it isn't illegal, it doesn't matter. There are a lot of things that people get really super duper ultra hung up on. Yet
Hmm.
they don't matter. They don't matter at all. They've never mattered. But they matter to you, and it's that personal experience of yours that, one, makes you a unique individual, but two, you could spend less time wasting your time worrying about things that don't matter. And it's so weird. I mean, am I wrong? Does anybody else like get that same memo at 50? I mean, it was that it was you know what I mean?
I've been publishing small games for the last 20 years, so actually I'm pretty convinced that 95% of what I do doesn't matter.
Yeah, but that's cool.
That's right.
But that's cool because
it's
you
a good lesson to have
realize
brought home to you every time you read a review.
hey, if you can scrape up enough money to get yourself a friggin' little place, and I mean a little teeny place in Hawaii, then hey, it works out, bro. It works out.
Oh, I wish I could. We were talking about this in the failed post show last time, but yeah, I tried to get a place in Hawaii, and then I decided that was just not happening yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unlike most of the people that listen to this, I actually watch the show and see your expression and the deepness of your longing to live in Hawaii. Please, everyone, please watch the show on YouTube. It's a beautiful show on YouTube. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, those were some rough weeks.
Is that what that look is? Is that longing? Okay. All right. Okay, good. I know it.
He was disappointed. I mean, the moment he realized that he had hit a hard wall. Hard
Oh, I know.
wall.
I know the disappointment is, yes.
I mean,
The disappointment is real. I know.
palpable.
But it's still there.
Palpable.
The dream is still there. It's palpable. Your Hawaii
Yeah,
is palpable for
I
James.
did just book myself a vacation in December. I will go and touch the monster once again for a couple of days. Because if you can only go for a couple of days every 6 months, then you don't need to buy a place. You can just stay in a hotel.
You know, one of those 18
that's
things
the way to do
that Kelly said that I do is one of those things is I'm a videographer. And when I went to Hawaii for the very first time, we went to Kauai, I brought my brand new Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 6K Pro, forever to be known on my channel as the 6K Pro. And that particular camera opened up my eyes because I was editing Hawaii, and I am in love with that place. So I appreciate everything.
That is certainly what happened to me. I went for a birthday party, my 50th birthday party, actually, and that experience said, I want to spend as much time here as I can.
Why not? I mean, life is too short.
I have never been to Hawaii. My plan is to go someday. I will.
Did I just send us off a cliff or what? My bad.
No.
I said life is too short.
Cliff.
And everybody literally looked at me like, "Oh, what do we say to that?"
No.
Yes, what you said, dear sir. Yes, what you said. Yes. I hear you.
So being an optimist for you is how you operate. Is that correct?
Correct.
Because I'm 53 years old and I am full of rage and hate, and I don't give a shit anymore.
Oh, see, okay. Look, I have often said, I hope y'all can't hear my dog whining, but I have often said that I probably because every single day I wake up every day, I go to work every day, and before I have coffee every day, I'm happy and good to go every day. And I'm pretty sure that is the clinical definition of mental illness. But the cool thing about that is that it gives me this, I can see the world with the rose of the roses of the rose. You name one. All right, we'll talk. How about the great, what is it called? The Great Resignation. Everybody quits their job. Is it a bad thing? Well, to some of the economists and some of the people who believe that inflation's running out of control and all that stuff, that
Hmm.
could be the case. But you know what I see? You know what I see? I see a bunch of people who are finding their own financial freedom through weird things like cryptocurrency and uh, and stocks and Tesla and thinking about the future and working through and thinking about financial systems that they've never actually like I mean poor people don't think about financial institutions because institutions have never thought about them, and all of a sudden they
Hmm.
have these apps in their hands. One of the
Hmm.
other things you said I was a futurist, and as a person who thinks deeply, and I do think deeply about the future, I believe that technology will save us all. It will make the world a better place. It will eat despair and awfulness and cruelty, and it will spit out rainbows. And the reason for that is because of the constant moving forward of things that people can't control, like the monetary system of the entire world is being completely changed by cryptocurrency in a way that people
Hmm.
do not get yet. As a matter of fact, they are just waking up to the idea of what the metaverse and cryptocurrency and living or working in an office that you don't have to go to, and how all of these people do not understand how all of these things and COVID and all of these things tie together into a nice, neat little package that says that the world is moving faster and accelerating faster into a much better version of the future than anybody's ever expected. Because
Okay.
you're gonna. Oh, my bad. Okay. All right.
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
no. I have a question. Not your bad at all. It's fascinating, but I want to dig into what you've just said. I want to really look at it. So the Great Resignation. Um, I think what happened with the pandemic and with the shutdown, I think people, because they were spending now so much time in their homes and with their families and kind of doing they didn't have the distractions of the busy day to day. They didn't have, you know, the commute and the parties to go to and all this. I think people really discovered how deeply unhappy they were in a lot of the things that they were doing. So I agree with you is that people are now starting to find different ways of living and kind of lifting themselves out of that fog.
Well, think about
And
this.
yes,
What about the fact that we're both right? That both things are happening at the same exact time. It is profound. It is going to change our society in a way that I do not think people are
mhm,
anticipating, especially uh, uh, the internet. The internet changed the world in ways that we thought that we knew how it was gonna all work out. Remember we with our groceries.com and our all of these different things that just were popping up all over the place, and that bubble burst
oh
because we
sure,
were trying to create what we thought the internet was going to be, when actually the
hmm
internet is this gigantic decentralized nervous system that does what the heck it wants to do and made its own way. And I think that we as a society, through technology, is going to make our own way. It'll
well
go our own
it'll be interesting as
way.
far as even it'll be interesting to see in like as we round the corner from pandemic to endemic and how we deal with it and you know kind of restart what people are
Endemic.
calling the new normal. Yeah, COVID's not going anywhere. It's not. It's just not. It's not going to be depleted or you know it's
Another
not
new
going anywhere.
disease that we
We have
have
to
to
deal with
deal
it.
with.
Yes, we have to deal with that. James, are you on board with this concept of technology is going to save us, is going to
No,
change
I
us,
still
is going to
believe
provide?
that the proper approach to the future is to stand on my lawn and shout at the kids until they get off of it.
Okay, good. That's a good plot. That's a good plot,
I can
and
only
you
speak
can
for
do that.
myself. I don't have a job right now because it's just not worth it. I mean, I think there's a lot of people not jobbing right now because for whatever reason they've either realized that being unemployed is almost as good as having a job, or that the money that they needed wasn't as much as they thought. I don't. There just isn't a lot of work. But they're also doing a collective bargaining where they will not work for a stupid wage. There's a certain amount of money that you have to get paid to even be able to afford to have that job, and maybe that's part of the Great Resignation is realizing that that's a net zero sum opportunity, right? If I'm getting paid minimum wage to spend all that money on getting paid minimum wage, I might as well just not do it.
And there are too many opportunities in the world, on the internet, just on the internet. You know, my wife was saying to me, she's like, but we're talking about people like restaurant workers and stuff. We're not talking about, you know, software engineers who decide they're done. I said, yeah, I agree with you, babe. That is true. But
if I was a restaurant worker, I would decide I'm done too. I would find some other way to make money because being in a restaurant now is worse than ever. The people who are in there are the worst of the worst.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, I am very surprised that we've been able to keep the quality of employee still coming in the door at Starbucks, because I'm telling you, there are lots and lots of opportunities for tomfoolery and idiocy in the world of work. And I'm just happy that I don't have to deal with that too often. I mean, it's unavoidable. But
well, that was my next question for you. Since you've been technically on the front lines of all this stuff. So basically, COVID happened, and so restaurants they shut down. They took people away.
Yep.
And with the shutdowns. And then you restart everything, and you're the first ones there to greet people as they kind of, start back up. Have you seen an emotional, societal change? Have you noticed anything that has changed out of what the regular routine would have been prior to the pandemic?
You know what I've noticed? I've noticed that that people are getting really used to the allowances that they've made in this world now. They have started to settle in to the point where when there is this prospect of going back to normal, the actual normal, and it terrifies them.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely terrifies them. I can't explain to you, like, just boom, what the French word, the French phrase is je ne sais quoi. It's an unknowable thing that I can't quite put my finger on, but it's you can feel it. You can feel that people are. I mean, it's probably one of the reasons why our current president's approval ratings are so in the crappers, because we have this malaise over the country that we've had to deal with for a really long time. And I think people are just resolved that that's the way it's going to be. And I don't know if that's a good thing. But that's why I think that things like virtual reality and augmented reality and not being in Zoom meetings and all of those future technologies are going to be so important in the future, because you're going to need you're going to need to be able to talk to people face to face, but if you get in a room with everybody and you take something home to your grandmother and that kills her, then you're basically hating the job anyway, right? So I think that people are having they're having a hard time, but they're resolved that this is the new normal.
I agree with you. I work with a large company, and the main feeling across the board is people. I know across the board is people do not want to return to the office. They just don't. Now, there are some people like myself, such as myself, social butterfly. I like that connection. I don't want to go back to 5 days. No, I don't. Absolutely not. I do not want to waste that hour and a half in the morning and that hour and a half back in traffic. That's a huge waste. And then, let me come in a couple days a week. That way I get my social interaction. I still service the people that I care for and support. But going back to 5 days a week, oh, no. No. And I have that luxury. I do. And I'm fully aware that I have that privilege and that luxury.
And everyone who has that luxury is becoming part of that labor shortage we're talking about because they're bargaining with something that they didn't used to think they owned, like saying, I don't want to work 5 days in the office. Let me work 4 days in the office. That used to be a really weird thing that some of the developers could come in 4 days. They could do 4/10s instead of 8/5, 5/8. And now everyone wants that because they realize they can have it. They realize most of what they can do at home. And that's giving the labor force the bargaining power that they always had. They just didn't realize it.
They just didn't realize it. And then as far as for restaurant workers, where they're claiming, and I rightfully so, raise the minimum wage. You can't live anywhere on $15 an hour. You cannot. That's not possible. You can't do it. $25 an hour minimum. And you'll see a jump in prices, absolutely. But you know what? You're going to have a happier workforce, a healthier workforce, and people who are glad to be a part of it. That would be such a boost, I think. I'm not an economist, but if you pay people a living wage as far as for blue collar work and restaurant work and service industry work, that definitely will help the economy.
I disagree with you, Kelly, but only because I'm farther to the left.
Okay.
Ooh. And see, I'm farther to the
Here's
right,
why.
so I was thinking to myself,
No.
ooh.
I think the minimum wage should be 0, and here's why. Because we ought to have a guaranteed basic income. Universal basic income is way better than the minimum wage. It means everyone can have what they need to stay out of jail, and then they can work wherever they want and get paid whatever it's worth.
Mm-hmm. I have no issues with the universal basic income, and I have no issues with universal health care. You get those two things taken care of, your health care isn't tied to your job, then great. There you go. And I'm done. Thanks so much, folks.
Well, I was, and I am probably, out of the three of us, I'm probably the most conservative, and I believe that the idea of universal income is very interesting. As a futurist, as a person who thinks about the future, universal income feels like the necessity that it probably is. Kind of like, well, how about this? You're a Mexican person who came into the country 20 years ago, okay? And you decide you want to use some cash. Well, all you can do is use cash. You can't use a card because you maybe aren't here with all of your papers, that sort of thing. Universal income completely cuts all of those people who are trying to seep into the American dream out. So, I mean, it's almost this like weird double-edged sword. I don't know I personally don't know how to feel about it. You know what I mean? I always think of it as these two things, as this great equalizer, but it then kind of separates all of the countries from each other once you start introducing income that can really honestly, company store only be spent in America sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know how
I think you're putting a lot of rules on UBI that it doesn't actually have, but sure.
No, I understand that.
Well, James,
I understand that. I'm saying to you, what could be the rule? What will the rule? I mean, what could the rules be? And there's a lot of latitude.
Well, you're talking
there,
about immigration law. You're not really talking about universal basic income. You're talking about a Mexican national who lives in the U.S. for 20 years and still isn't documented, and that's its own separate problem. That's not.
I agree with
universal
that.
basic
I agree
income
with
issue.
it. I just I have a tendency to do this broad think that doesn't really always adhere to And because that is literally, I don't know why, but it's literally the first thing that I thought of. I was like, well, so what about those people who seem to be able to work through the system and actually become something, or their children get to become something more than what they are because they're born here or they're born into the, and how does that work with universal income? UBI is a beautiful concept, but I worry about it like I worry about communism. Is there room for abuse? Is there room for people to slip through the cracks? Is there room for, I mean, how do you qualify for the actual thing? Do you make too much money? Does that mean you're on the dole then? And then sometimes you're on the dole, sometimes you're not. Do you have the ability
all
to
your
get out of
questions
the
are completely
dole?
valid.
So
Yeah, your questions
like
are
I said,
completely valid on it.
I literally am the most conservative person in the room. Sorry about that. I do. I often get in not arguments, but passionate discussions with young people about the concepts around which they rage against the machine. I want them to rage against the machine. I remember being young and raging against the machine. I was a rager. I was with him. I was, old people, you do bad things. I was with them. I mean, I had to, just like you two had to deal with all of the consequences of the greatest generation raising a bunch of baby boomers who raised us. So I get it. They all went to war. Like half those people went to war, and they raised a bunch of boomers who thought that the world worked in a certain way, and they're quite disappointed when the Gen Xers decided. I mean, because the Gen Xers, we were the first ones that decided we didn't have to stay at a job for more than 2 years. Sometimes we were like,
I think those jobs decided that for us.
Well, I mean, 2008.
Yeah,
right?
as far as every generation has its own thing. So this group, this young group that's I think coming up is very idealistic, and I think it's phenomenal.
It's
I
our
enjoy
fault.
watching
I think it's
them
our fault.
change their Why being
We sort of taught them
idealistic.
to hate the world more than we did. We were
because
lazy.
we were idealistic, and we were the children of friggin' hippies. You know what I'm saying? The children of hippies, a bunch of people who wanted to change the world themselves and
Sure.
put those ideals into our brains and made us think that the world could be a better place. And hence, things like Barack
there's more
Obama
nihilists,
and stuff.
nihilists,
Nihilists,
in the Gen
I think
X.
it's
I don't know
nihilist.
if I'm saying that right. Nihilists.
All the audiobook people say
there's
nihilists.
far more nihilists. Yeah, nihilists.
Nihilists.
I think if you
EJ,
ask them, they'll tell you it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does. Exactly.
Yeah,
EJ,
baby.
what are you working on? Ekello, what are you working on right now with your photography? Where are you headed with that?
Well, I have a YouTube channel called Ekello Photo, and excuse me, I have a YouTube channel called Ekello Photo, and I spend time on that channel trying to teach people how to be the best poser of their models and how they can bring out the best personality in that picture, because frankly, I've seen some very good photographers take some very boring pictures, and I don't know why. It's in my brain. I'm an extrovert, so I could come up to somebody and say, you know what I want you to do. I'll give you an example. Here's an example. I was at a Comic-Con, Emerald City Comic-Con, about 3-4 years ago, and this little girl comes up. I mean, little. She was like maybe 5'1", and she was dressed as Black Canary. And I don't know if you know who the Black Canary is, but she's blonde and she's got a mask and leather jacket and either a black bodice or some type of form-fitting shirt, and she wears boots, big Doc Marten boots and fishnets, and she's a badass. And when she screams out loud, she creates this wave of sound that breaks people apart and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking at this girl, and she takes the picture like this.
So in a week, so EJ right now is doing a very weak
Oh, damn it. I'm
fisted
sorry.
stance.
All right.
Yeah.
So yes, that's right. She puts her hands up in this way that says, "Don't hit me." And I look at her and I say,
With
"Honey."
a worried look on her face.
Honey, yes, with a worried look on her face, like I said, "You know what? Why don't we try you throwing a punch?" She throws a punch. And so I'm like, "Oh, that's okay. All right, so why don't we do this then? Why don't you kick, and as you're kicking, scream. Like actually scream." And she said, "You want me to scream?" And we're in the middle of a convention center. I said, "Actually scream like you're the friggin' canary." And she says, "Okay, all right. And she kicks and with this big gigantic, like Xena freaking warrior princess. And I snapped the shot. I have a T3i. I have the kit lens on the T3i. I've got a big old remote kind of controlled like flash, and I take the picture. I really didn't even think about it again. And I get home, and it is literally fire. And I'm talking fire like the world blew up. The girl looked like the goddess that she was trying to portray.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do on my channel is I try to give the photographer a chance to bring out whatever that subject is that they're taking a picture of in the best light possible. I do Lightroom tutorials. I actually show people. I take people out on photo shoots with me. I do short films that I've been trying to hone my skills as a cinematographer. And so I've been mixing all of this together into this Ekello photo channel. And I really enjoy it. I'm about to start another channel called Ekello the Futurist, but I'm still not exactly sure on exactly how I want to present all of my ideas about the future and how.
Well, that's
all of
actually
these things
fairly
tie
convenient
together.
because if you procrastinate long enough on a futuristic channel, it can just turn into a history channel.
Ooh.
Oh,
li-
Ekello.
I like you, the real James. I like you.
That's what
Ekello-
full-speed internet will get you.
Exactly. Thank you so much for joining us, Ekello. As far as I will put links in our show notes. Any more theater coming up for you now, or is that kind of on the back burner at this point?
Back burner right now. I even kind of forgoed a little bit of auditioning in August because I'm just not feeling it right now. It's
Okay.
I could go into it, but don't have the time.
Yeah, you've got a lot on your plate, my friend.
I'm just saying,
folks, Dirty
don't have the
Dozens.
time.
I know. Folks, thanks so much for joining us today. I will put all things talked about that have links in our show notes. Again, my pleasure, and I hope yours too, joining Ekello Harrid joining us on the show. Let's say do this always. Be kind. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to your family. Be kind to your friends. Be kind to your neighbors. Be kind to your community. Because we're all going through it. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Kelly Wright.
And I'm James Ernest, and we are here all week.
Yeah.